Welcome back to the Sunday Suite podcast, where high performers share the exact habits and decisions that move the needle. Some of the best businesses aren't brand new, they are borrowed and made better. Today's guest has been inspired by Airbnb and Uber. Brad has lived the highs and lows of a founder's journey, and today he is breaking down what it really takes to build from scratch. Brad, welcome to the Sunday Suite.
Thank you. It's great to see you again. I'm happy to be here.
It's so wonderful to see you. When I was thinking about what founders do I want to speak to that I can really deep dive into their brain about how they've scaled something from, an interesting story or a risk, I thought of you. So I really want to dive in today with you just essentially taking us back so we can paint the picture a little bit for the audience. Tell us what sparked the original idea for your business today.
Well, I've been in this industry for many years, and it dawned on me that something is broken in our industry, in the contingent labor world. Fundamentally, it's the industries remain the same, unchanged, and it needed a boost. And one day, when I was in an Uber 4 years ago, it dawned on me that there has got to be a way to take this model and capitalize on it within our industry. And I thought many, many days, many weeks about how I could do that. And out of all of that thinking and, fantasizing about what could be, I came up with the idea of Jobvious. And essentially, Jobvious, like Uber, that said, hey, if you have a car, you can earn passive income. Jobvious does the same thing, except you don't need a car. You just need your network of acquaintances, friends, coworkers, colleagues. And then we monetize that instead of your car. The one thing that we all have in common and that we value is the people that we surround ourselves with, right? And typically you want to help those people. And oftentimes people refer individuals to opportunities that they hear about, but they do it out of the kindness of their heart, which is great. But now you can get paid for it. And so that was the birth of Jobvious. And there are a lot of benefits that are given to the participants as well as the clients that we didn't really anticipate, that have come to light after we went live, and it's very exciting. It's the results are phenomenal, and it feels good being able to create something that allows anyone to earn some extra income to, buy whatever it is that they have always been hesitant to buy, to help them fund a college fund for their child, or buy Christmas gifts, or take a vacation, because the money is real and it's easy to earn um, on a continuous basis.
So let's go back a little bit further. I want to uncover from you what was some of maybe the biggest risk that you took that actually paid off to getting to where you are today.
Oh gosh, the biggest risk I took was, yeah, when you're young, you don't realize it, but 20 whatever years ago, when I worked for a very large company, and I quit without notice and walked out on the job after 6.5 years because I got angry, which is something a 28-year-old probably does. And I went home and freaked out, and decided I'm going to start my own business. And I had phone lines run into my bedroom. I went and bought a desk at Staples. I was very proud of that desk, even though it was just a pressboard desk, but it was my throne in my office. And from there, I just started working my contacts, and eventually, many years later, here I am. And in addition to Jobvious, my legacy company, Tailored Management, is a global contingent labor RPO provider. And, when we have offices in, the Philippines and India, Costa Rica, Canada, Mexico, and Colombia. Um, and it's hard to believe. This guy from small town America, um, which I think is important because you don't need an Ivy League education. You just need desire, and grit, you know, staying power.
Maybe an almost quit moment during your time now being a founder and having your own company, like those early days, were there moments where you thought, this just isn't working the way I wanted it to? Maybe I'm going to have
Yeah.
to pivot again.
Yep. I can tell you exactly. It was 2008, when we were in the Great Recession. I was, it was very stressful. Um, I remember one week, we didn't think we were going to have money for payroll. And I actually called a colleague who was a competitor, uh, and said, in a panic, said, I don't know what I'm going to do. He offered to lend me the money. Thankfully, I ran around and collected checks and was able to make payroll. But after that, I thought to myself, what in the hell am I doing? And I just can't do this anymore. And I actually, um, went to an interview, and interviewed, for a job with a large company, in this industry. And after I got home, I drove to Cleveland, Ohio, which is about 2.5 hours away. I said again, what in the hell am I doing? I can't quit this now. I've got, 5 years into this. I can't quit. I've got too much invested. So I stuck it out, and I just every day told myself, um, and this sounds a little bit corny, but I just kept telling myself, you're a good person. You're doing the right things. Something good will happen. And I just recited that to myself every day. Because I do believe a bit in karma. I believe good things happen to good people. And eventually good things started to happen. And I felt very grateful, as I do today. But that was the moment that I was ready to turn it all in. Um, it lasted probably a week, but then I got out of my funk.
Longest week of your life, though, eh?
My God, that was a terrible year. Um,
Yeah.
Terrible year.
What I
Uh,
find really interesting about that is because we see so much online now of people publicly expressing their successes. And I think that's a brilliant thing. That's what we naturally do. We're not the first or inclined to put out there our losses or our failures or our challenges because we feel shame from that. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people don't want to express that. We want to express the wins and we want the positive energy out there, not the negative. But I think for a lot of people that are seeing their successes, it looks like it's very easy. It's a gradual incline. You do hear that within the first 2 years, you don't make any money, but after that, it's plain sailing. For you to have been at the 5 year mark and to have had a hiccup at that point, I'm sure a lot of people would have thought you must be really secure with this business.
I was, yeah, I guess I was. I thought that again, I mean, there was uncertainty, which is why I kept telling myself and reciting the same phrase every day, you're a good person, you're doing the right things. Um, and Ultimately, at the end of the day, what matters most if you want success is fighting through those events. And there are going to be multiple events, in your journey. And you just have to, when they come along, um, you have to say, I haven't seen you for a while, but I'm going to punch through this. No matter what, I've done it before. I can make it. And I think nobody 100% believes in themselves, but you have to at least have enough faith in yourself that you can get on the other side of whatever adversity you are facing. And if you don't have that, then you're going to bail. That's grit, right? That's staying power. Um, and that's the one thing above everything else that you need. Don't give up no matter what happens. And people are too quick to surrender and give up. Um, and, I talk about my blunders and my mistakes all the time. Um, and I do that on purpose because it's relatable for people. Um, I don't think people get so much out of me talking as much about my success. Yes, I've had success as much as they, um, as much as they want to understand how I overcame the adversity. And it's just more relatable because we've all had that, those moments where we question ourselves, our abilities, our faith that we're going to get on the other side of whatever obstacle we're facing.
Do you think you can be driven or motivated enough by money to have your company succeed?
No, I don't.
I knew you were going to say that, because I see both sides of the coin, and I was saying to you beforehand, wasn't I? I'm very motivated by money, but I do want to be able to try and see the other side of that. But for people that are building a business because they want to be rich, that's where my question lies.
I think that if you're building a business because you want to be rich, I think that the likelihood of you failing is pretty significant. And I would challenge you when you say I'm money motivated. Are you really motivated by money, or are you motivated the um, by the world that you created in your mind of what success looks like? And they're very different things. Money is the craving for tangible goods. And based on our conversation a few minutes ago before we started recording, I don't think that that's you, because you are an avid saver. And you said, even if I made millions, I would still go to the discount grocery store. So, I mean, that speaks volumes. It's not about the tangible money. It's about the success. And success feels great for a variety of reasons, but mainly because of the legacy that you leave behind. The purpose that you feel every day is incredibly rewarding. Beyond the financial side, far beyond the financial side. Um, ultimately, I think that that's the one thing everyone has in common is, the greatest fulfillment comes from making some sort of positive impact on others. And if you can do that on a daily basis, um, you're going to be happy and fulfilled, you know?
Hmm. It's interesting. I'm thinking more and more about my money habits and why I tie that to success. And maybe it's a security thing. But in the same breath, if look, how many zeros after a number would I need to feel secure?
Oh, here's the thing is I don't think there is um, a number of zeros because for whatever reason, um, you had events in your life that makes you want to seek out that financial security, which everybody wants. But even when you reach that number, chances are you're still going to have that insecurity because, it can all go away. Um, Anything can happen. And you have to be comfortable with that. Uh, you just have to, you have to be at peace with where you are, what you have, um, and ultimately the positive things, that you've done. Um, so, I don't know if I'm accurate on my statement, but if I think I'm pretty good at reading people, and I'm guessing that's probably the case. And, focus on doing good and doing what fulfills you and makes you happy, and magically everything else takes care of itself. It's not that complex.
I think a lot of it is this chase feeling, isn't it? I learned quite recently that the dopamine kicks in when you're amping yourself up for something. You're preparing to buy that new car, you're preparing for that new promotion, but the minute it lands in your lap, it all comes back down to where you started again, and it's the rise back up where that dopamine increases again. And so we're always consistently chasing something, which is a
Oh,
big fear of my mind in my mind. So I'm like, well, will any of us ever be truly fulfilled?
yeah, I think that it is. You're right. Famously here, people know I am not a I am not a service oriented kind of guy. Um, I go in, I love the thrill of the hunt, I love the kill, and then I love going on to the next one. And I don't like to hang back and make sure everything's going well 3 months after implementation. That's just not my makeup. I like to go out and win, and um, it's like a sport. Um, but even that is a quick rush that dissipates rapidly. Ultimately, the fulfillment that I get truly is by the impact that I have with the people here and in our various offices, and the positive message that I can tell, and the foundation upon which I built the business of paying it forward. And um, when you have success, it gives you a platform and people listen, and that feels great because you can make such an impact on people's lives, and that's really it creates enormous fulfillment after we do a global town hall, and I get up and I speak about um, what's going on, and what my um, then I usually do some sort of inspirational, motivational kind of talk. And, when you see people, nodding their head or smiling, or commenting afterwards, thanks, that, meant a lot. That's all I need. If you can do that once a day and you feel pretty good. It's the same, a dream. I've always been a dreamer. Yeah, ever since I was little. Um, I wanted to be an actor then and a performer. I grew up in a small town, and, I always had this vision of the world, the glamour, and um, the world that I didn't have, and it was very unfamiliar. I was in a town of 1,400 people. It was a farm town. It was a fine place to uh, raise a family and grow up. But I didn't know what the big city was. I didn't know all of those things were fantasy to me. And so in my mind, I conjured up all of these incredible things that I could do, or, take part in, or have. Of course, it was a dream, but in my head, it was attainable. Um, and that's still what I'm chasing, uh, is that dream. Um, Now it's through Jobvious, and I continue with tailored management, but um, there are variations with Jobvious. It's more of a legacy. It's a disruptor, uh, and it helps a lot. It can help a lot of people, and that's really what I want to do. Um, and hopefully, I attain that. Um, that would be great. I would love to retire and just volunteer somewhere. Doing whatever. But ultimately, yeah, the one thing people have in common, I think, is the desire to, you know, have that impact on somebody else's life, um, in a positive way. There's nothing better than that. There's nothing that makes you feel better than that, at least for me. I don't know. I think that that's probably pretty common.
I truly believe that when you say it. And when you're talking, I'm like, I can still see that small town boy, that dreamer. The way you talk about your company and your mission, your purpose, your values, it very much resonates with that. I wonder though, for a lot of people that do see these large companies like Uber, Airbnb, we touched on Netflix, Coca-Cola, like when they speak out loud, they're CEOs, and they say, Airbnb, I'm doing this for other people so they can make money, they can do things with their homes, or Ubers, I can give people, like any driver, a job. It's hard to almost believe that that's sincere when they've
Uh,
got a multi-billion-pound company behind them. I think
sure.
that's where people lose that relatableness between a CEO and a founder that's successful, because they are tying success to ego and money and not success to purpose and being human and giving back or paying forward.
Yeah, I think that, I can't speak to those people. I believe it's possible that they originally started with the desire of, you know, democratizing, those industries and empowering people. I think it was probably about purpose at that moment. I think maybe you are very valid once you attain a certain level, and especially if you have a company that goes public, forget about purpose. The only purpose there is when you are the CEO of a public company is shareholders, and so it it crushes whatever purpose or dream that was there. Um, and so yeah, you're probably right. It isn't about the people at that point. It's just about the shareholders and the share price, which is very shallow. It's a very shallow feeling. I can't imagine, starting a business with the only motivator being dollars and cents. That would be hard to get out of bed every day. I mean, that would suck. Yeah, uh, it has been a concern, and as we have grown, um, I saw uh, signs of large company kind of things creeping in, and it got very, uh, I got very frustrated, and so I changed it. Um, there was, too many uh, SOPs and too many of all this other stuff that but you need what was lost to all of that control was what I really believe in, which is the empowerment of the people. Because when everything is structured in a way that um, dictates how somebody operates throughout the day, I just can't. I don't buy into that. I just can't buy into it. Fundamentally, I believe that people are at their best when they're left to their own devices to think on their own and make good decisions. To me, that is the best way to run a business. And, so yeah, that concerned me, but um, it doesn't concern me today. This was probably a year ago, and it went on for a year and a half or two when I noticed that when I used to be able to get something done by just saying, I want this done, suddenly there seemed to be other individuals involved. And um, so I just look, the buck stops here, right? Um, you know, uh, I'm accountable to all of this, all of these people. Um, we have an obligation to these people um, to honor the culture and the growth that I talk about every day. And the obligation is to give them the career of, their dreams and the growth that allows them to grow and elevate. I mean, everybody wants that. Um, and it's an obligation of any employer, I think. I don't know if everybody thinks of it that way, but I mean, if somebody comes to work for you, um, I don't see it as them being a um, subservient to you or uh, just a spoke in the wheel. Um, it's a human, and they have dreams too, and um, we have to help facilitate that.
Hmm. I think you'll probably be surprised, but I think you're a rarity when you say that type of thing. I think there are still very many people that see someone as a 9 to 5 and I pay them. So that's their value. That's the value I bring to them. They should be honored. I've given them a job. I feed their family. I put a roof over their heads. I think that still does exist. And I wonder then, because I'm just going to ask you, what mistakes do you see founders making again and again and again? Do you think that plays a big part in it? Is there anything else you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, well, there's, a bunch of mistakes people make, but I think the number one mistake is not capitalizing on the people that you have. If individuals that are on your team, um, typically if somebody has that mentality, I feed their family, they work 9 to 5, that's the value they bring. Um, you got to question like, w- how much more value could they bring if you changed the way that you lead? Um, you know, y- there has to be unification. Everybody has to be unified and pointing in the same direction under one message. Um, if you really want to kill it, everybody has to believe. What I say here is, every conversation is a sales pitch. Um, and I do believe it is, right? Every conversation is a sales pitch. Understand what you're saying, how it's being interpreted, and what you want the outcome to be. And if we unify around a message, we can unite a group of people, and that's powerful. That will carry you through. Um, so I it seems logical and kind of common sense, but I, you know, and I think that people want to believe, right? They want to believe in the mission and they want to believe in the leaders. They want to believe that they are part of something great that is bigger than themselves. Um, everybody wants it. It sounds kind of like a cult, right? But um, and maybe in some way it is a little bit, but in a good way, right? I mean that's the dream. Keep politics out of it. Um, you know, don't buy into the politics, the gossip, it sends you off track. Not productive. Um, you know, crush it as soon as it starts.
I do love that you mentioned that everyone has a dream, because I think we tie career and dream together by someone wanting to climb the ladder. And I think a lot of what I'm seeing outside of career and talking about the personal side to someone that's carrying that title or being a founder or an entrepreneur is that you don't have to be a founder or an entrepreneur to have a dream. You can be that person you can be that mother that wants to come to work to inspire her daughter to want more for herself. Do you know what I mean? That could
Oh,
be your dream. It doesn't have to be chasing the salary, chasing the title.
no. No, I don't. I think look, that comes out of large corporate environments where, for some reason, title is, um, people value that so much, because it's, um, it's a status symbol. That's it. I mean, really, how much fulfillment do you get out of it? I mean, whether you're climbing a corporate ladder, volunteering on the weekends, being a stay-at-home mom, you can still find a way to reach your dreams. Whatever it is there are ways that you can find access to those dreams in any scenario. You just have to stay true to it and pursue it, not get derailed. Um, and I think that it's attainable. But again, I think that I'm oversimplifying it, but I think that it really boils down to what are you doing for others? You know, it feels great to teach somebody something they didn't know and they appreciate it. Um, it feels great to do something kind for someone. Sometimes it's just opening a door. Um, it- you know, I don't know anybody that doesn't get fulfillment out of that. Um, so if you practice that every day, something small, um, it will have monumental impacts on your year. And, doing it at work, being good to others is going to benefit you greatly. People are going to like you. They're going to want to work with you. They're going to learn from you. They're going to be inspired by you. They're going to want to emulate you. What an honor is that, right? I mean, wow.
Hmm. I was literally that person that wanted the title. So if you had asked me 6 months ago, it would have been my dream and my goal is to reach C-suite. And that would be my pinnacle of success. And I spoke to someone, gosh, a while back now, and he said to me, he was like, well, you're self-employed, yeah? And I said, yeah. And he was like, well, technically you're CEO of your own company. Cool. And I was like, oh, damn. Okay, now I don't feel like I've achieved like any, because this is just where I am. So I was like, was that even what my definition of success was? It clearly wasn't. So I'm still trying to figure that bit out.
You're in your 20s, you're young, and so it's natural that that's something that you would say. But if you really dug deep, I think that you would really find the answers. Um, and you would have to eliminate all social imprints that you've acquired, meaning like all of the social influence, which is the only reason that you say my dream is to be C-suite, because it's prestigious, it's elusive, it's um, images of a grand life, you know, when you think of that. And at the end of the day, I think that you want success, whatever that means for you, and that comes in so many different packages. Um, and not all of them uh, are about money. I used to say, if I treat employees great, inspire them, motivate them, give them autonomy, um, treat them like little entrepreneurs, right? Magically, everything takes care of itself. Money is a byproduct of success. Success is a byproduct of doing something that you are truly passionate about. You know, if you focus solely on money, chances are you're probably following or engaging in certain constructs, right, of society that you believe is going to get you to the money, not necessarily something you're passionate about. That's where people fall short. Just do what you believe, do what you love, do what you're passionate about. You will find success. I guarantee it. The biggest lesson I've learned is I have to protect myself. I have been, I am able to be taken, people can take advantage of me because I, I always see the positive in people, which feels like it probably a good trait. And sometimes it is, but it is certainly it can be a big downfall. Identifying those around you that are potentially doing you more harm than good and see it for what it is. Um, don't let loyalty um, get in the way of good decisions. And I've made very bad decisions regarding that. Someone that's been here for a long time, I take those things personal, uh, and I feel an obligation to them, even when their behavior um, really indicates that they probably don't want to be here, you know. Um, and so it's funny that a lot of people though around here they feel the need to protect me, at least other executives. We had someone that did something uh, outside of work that resulted in us parting ways. And I was going to meet with this person afterwards. And our general counsel said, Brad, I don't want you to go. I don't want you to go. And I said, why? And she's like, well, because, I worry that, he is going to try and manipulate you. And so I came back and I said, well, this is the story, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, see, that's why I didn't want you to go. Because now you're trying to minimize this and you know, snap out of it. And it's one of my flaws, I guess, and, and so it is what it is.
Do you get scared being out of control?
Yeah. You mean with business? As things are not when things fall out of control, of
May
my control?
yeah, yeah. Maybe from a relationship standpoint though, because I can relate in a sense of what you're saying is you always try to see the good in people, and for me, I always try to understand why someone behaves a certain way. And so, for
Oh,
you going out into that situation, you were advised to maybe not, but you felt like you had the control to want to handle that. And I think sometimes is that our own downfall, trying to
y
control every scenario.
yeah. Well, you're right, and that's a good quality to have. I always try to understand the motivations of people, but I am, um it's very easy for someone to tell me a story that counters maybe what the facts say, and I lean in their favor because I wanna believe them, you know? Um, and, in certain situations, um, I really can't understand the motivations of people, and that's what really, um, bothers me because I think I'm a pretty good, um, assessor of individuals, um, and it's the ones that I don't fully understand that do kinda scare me a bit. Um, I don't know if it's because that means that they're not predictable. Anything out of control does not feel great, out of my
Yeah.
control.
I keep hearing this saying over and over again is get comfortable being uncomfortable because that's where the growth happens. And I think there's something in challenging yourself outside of your normal norm. So you finding yourself motivated by other people. I think there's so many great traits in that, but to perhaps see it from a different lens, I don't know. I wonder how we keep growing as we get older when we've been set in a way of who we are for
Uh,
so long. And especially when it comes from such a positive place. Like you saying what you're saying there comes from just you being a good hearted person to want to see the
yeah,
best in everyone.
yeah, I do. I do believe that vast majority of people are good. Um, and until there is a reason for me to think that they aren't good, I work under the assumption that they are. Yeah, you've got to get comfortable feeling uncomfortable, but that's more about risk, and business risk. And I've always been comfortable with that. You know, I've always been fine with fake it till you make it. If somebody needs something in Argentina, and I'll be, oh yeah, we can do that, and then we race back and figure it out, right? Um, and I like being uncomfortable. I don't like things that necessarily are certain because that's boring. Um, and I always say that uncertainty in the future um, is motivating for me because I'm a dreamer. That, I can populate that with whatever dream I have. And that is motivating. Maybe it's a distraction. I don't know, but but it feels good. I like to dream and picture things that, anything can be attainable if you dream about it. But predicting things just are boring.
Mm. Yeah, it's exciting. People say there's like this fear of the unknown, but if you knew the day you were going to leave this earth and everything that was going to happen up to that point, where would the fun and spontaneity be?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
That's exactly right. That's the same way for me with work. That's why large corporate environments were not good for me because, you could see your trajectory and predict it, and there was no room for dreaming. And I needed that. I need that. Um, Ever since I was a kid, doing really poorly in school because I was a terrible student. I just daydreamed. Yeah.
Tell me if you were to start this journey all over again tomorrow, to start a brand new business, what are the first steps you'd take?
I would be purposeful, more purposeful than I was in my younger years. identifying the market I wanted to serve, identifying um, the people that I need around me, identifying where am I going to get money and funding. There are a lot more complexities now than there was when I started, that you have to take into consideration. I mean, social media is one that I have no clue about, but I know that somebody here does. And I, it, I mean, I'm a fan of Instagram and TikTok, but I have no clue how it works, um, or how we, advertise or post. Those are the things that I would probably, I would take a responsible approach and, you know, not, um, you know, uh, the sloppy, just roll it from one day to the next, which is what I did when I was young.
So, how I round up around here, Brad, is I ask you if you have a tool, a habit, a question, a book, something that you can leave our audience with. So, for the next 7 days before the next episode, they have an actionable or tangible thing to do. What would you leave them with?
Gosh. I think that I would encourage people to um, truly seek out what it is that defines them and their why, and that takes some digging. I would encourage you to do it too. Is what is my why? What truly brings me joy? What is my purpose? Um, and a lot of people can say, "Oh my God, my purpose! That's such a big thing." And it really isn't, because whatever it is that you're passionate about and you love is your purpose, right? And then what can you do with that? Um, and I do believe that if you focus on that purpose, that why, that thing you're passionate about, that you will feel success every day doing what you love. And eventually that will result in financial independence. Because if you're doing something that you love, you're doing it well, you're having success, people are going to want to be associated with you. People are going to see that you are passionate about this, and they're going to want to buy from you, and they're going to want to interact with you. And that's the beauty of doing something you love, is people uh, migrate to you. And like this podcast, I told you the last time that you were very good at it. And I don't do these very much anymore. But when you wanted to do another one, I'm like, yeah, because I enjoyed talking to you. And so it's really that simple.
Mm. I do think this podcast is that for me. The more you're talking about it, and I'm trying to think, what's my purpose? And there's so many podcasts out there that help you to learn and to educate you. And I thought that's where I originally wanted to be. But the more I'm diving into this journey, I think it's to inspire others. Like, I really
I
want someone to have listened and felt motivated and inspired by our conversation.
Yeah, I think that I 100% agree. There's a lot of podcasts out there that talk to CEOs and entrepreneurs and talk about their journey, um, but more about their business journey, um, and how they went from a 5-person shop to a 20,000 person shop, and that's something I listen to learn, um, or to take ideas from, but it isn't inspiring you. It doesn't inspire me. Um, I think talking about human behavior and the challenges that someone like myself faces, that I know that when people look at me, um, they don't know that, they don't think that, um, and so I'm no different than anybody. We all have kind of the same things. Um, and so yeah, I think it can be very, very impactful, um, and you know, inspire people to do some things maybe they otherwise wouldn't.
I'm so grateful for you, Brad. I appreciate that. I've taken a lot of your time over the past few months, and the fact that you pay it forward and give that to me, I'm honestly, it's beyond grateful.
Oh, yeah, I like doing it. Thank you, man.
As always around here, you have some homework to do. So I challenge you to take Brad's advice and commit to it for the next 7 days. Track how it changes your focus, your energy, or your results. Because as we know, patterns compound and small shifts move the dial. For me, today's biggest reminder is that great ideas don't have to be original, but they do have to be executed in focus. And to quote the great Rory Sutherland, you don't make yourself like your competitors. You find the one thing your competitors are weirdly bad at and double down on that. I'm Meg, and I'll catch you next week for a brand new episode of the Sunday Suite.